Hey, Rob. How
Hey,
are you?
Basil. Good.
Yeah,
Nice to
yeah.
see you again.
It's good to see you again, man.
You too. Thank you guys for coming on tonight.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right. So I figured, yeah, rather than sending long emails and back and forth, it'd be easier just to have you guys ask me questions and me try to answer them as best I can.
I think at this initial stage, that might be the most expediting kind of way to get us kind of rolling with the accurate ideas of what you're thinking about.
Yeah. Have either of you had a chance to read the entire script or just the samples that I sent you?
Just the samples.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, those are the primary special effects that I'm looking for, some idea of cost. What I want to do, I did a concept animation back in 2009, and it was very cartoonish. And unfortunately, people don't read and they don't see where it says previs on there.
Right.
And everybody's like, "Oh, Rob's making a cartoon." I'm like, "No, no, I'm not. That's not what I'm doing." So I'm at a stage now where I really want to do a live action trailer. And quite a few of those scenes, obviously, those are the kind of the pow, the wow, scenes I'd love to have at least some of it in the trailer. So just to get some realistic ideas on numbers and what I'm looking into, in that regard, would help me to get the budget for that first of all, because the way I see it is the trailer is going to help me raise the budget for the rest of it.
For sure. I participated in a similar project not too long ago where it was kind of funded independently, and I have helped out some Latin American crew to initially get a trailer rolling and then kind of proceed with the funding. So it took them a bit, but they ended up actually just, I think, releasing maybe about half a year ago.
Well, I recently released a limited collector's edition version. I think you guys just had the basic version. I don't even think it had pictures in it. It was pretty much just a script. But this one has full color pictures and all kinds of stuff in it. And I limited it to 3,000 at $50 a piece. And I just put it up, and we've already sold over 200, and we're more orders coming in every day. So
Nice.
This is what's going to be used primarily to raise the funds for the trailer. And then the trailer hopefully will be used to raise the funds for the series.
Yeah. So I think in order to accomplish that, we had a series of questions that I think when those are answered, we can help substantiate a better quote for you.
Sure.
So I think at this point, I'm going to let Agnian lead and just walk us through the primary effects that you stated on your initial email, and just give us as much detail as possible, and any visual reference. Just talk us through visual references. I know Agnian had some questions on workflow and detail, so let's just start with that.
Okay.
So first, my question would be, and it would nicely kind of piggyback on what you just said, Rob, would be about the previs.
Mm-hmm.
The shots that I read through from the primary VFX shots that you had given Basil, and then I read later, I started thinking about them, and inevitably some questions arise. So I kind of wanted to run through a few of these and see, basically to get a more concrete idea of not just the scene setting kind of in general description, but also much more specific idea of what level of camera movement involved do you have in mind for any of those specific shots? Because when we talk about something that's either partially or fully CG, camera and events and action in different backgrounds and foreground planes can make a huge difference as far as workflow approaches or time consumed or elaboration of the techniques used, right?
Yeah, absolutely. For sure. So yeah, opening scene is, and it'd probably have to shoot it in some place like Hawaii. Would be, just the way it's kind of described is you're looking at the mouth of a river, You're looking into the jungle as the river goes into the jungle, and it's peaceful. It's the sun's going down, so it's kind of a beautiful sunset in the background. Just a beautiful jungle scene. And all of a sudden, you start hearing the sound of the engine of the plane, as it's coming in, and it crashes behind us. So what we initially see is just maybe a piece of a propeller and a few pieces come flying in front of us into the river.
Okay. And
then we pull back from that debris to see the Avenger crashed. So, it seems to me that I'm going to have to have
a shot.
Yeah.
Okay.
It seems to me that we're going to have a physical Avenger. Now, getting one to Hawaii may be a problem, or any place else. So, when the people are running through the jungle and stuff like that, that's the kind of stuff that I could shoot there. Whatever's happening around the Avenger may have to be on a sound stage, someplace that is a lot more controllable. And we'd have to have, second unit footage that we'd match the VFX to. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Unless we can get an Avenger in Hawaii, and that would be amazing. But because we have actors inside the airplane, and the pilot's trying to get out. The latch is jammed, and he's banging. He's trying to get out, and then when he gets out, he's checking on his buddies, and both the turret gunner and the guy in the belly are both wasted. And then later he has this encounter with the Japanese soldiers who are being chased by something which we never actually see.
Okay.
We're hearing stuff.
Am I imagining fairly accurately the setting of what was it, that beginning of Lost when they basically shattered on the beach of that whatever island?
Yeah, instead of being
the first thing that I sort of recalled as similar kind of a setting.
Correct. Instead of being on the beach, though, it's actually in the jungle. I'm going to do a screen. Let me do a screen share for you here. I held an art competition recently to get the artwork for that book that I showed you, and I'll actually put the link in the chat room here for you guys. You can check it out for yourself if you want to. Okay, so I just put it in the chat room. It's seetheseries.com/gallery.html. This first picture with the red border around it, this is sort of what we're looking at here. Now this particular artist decided to depict sort of the aftermath of this. Like, really, the scene should be in front of in other words, the airplane should be facing this way, either that or the scene's in front of the airplane. But he's basically just showing a side shot where he just crawled out off the wing. It's sort of like Luke Skywalker on Dagobah after his X-wing crashed, if you remember Empire Strikes Back. But essentially, that's the set. That's what we need. And then that thing blows up.
Okay.
Because it's on fire. It's got a fuel leak, and it's crashed, and engine fire starts, but it's a bomber, so it's carrying some bombs in its belly, and once that thing goes up, and it just boom, it's a pretty big explosion.
Okay.
Which would all be obviously the thought would be if we can have an actual physical Avenger that the actors can interact with, and then we'd have to visual effects all the damage to it.
All right.
This is where I think it becomes extremely important to get a previs involved. Because with the previs, we can analyze action and camera angles or camera movements in a way that makes the most economical, either technically or financially, approach to the shot.
Yeah.
While not sacrificing important visual effects, right? And basically, with the previs, we can start sort of tailoring what tools and what tricks we can throw in a shot like this or in a sequence like this in order to take into account for what can be shot practically with, what is required to be shot practically and what we can get away with. as added in CG, right?
Sure. Yeah.
But that at least gives me a much more specific idea of your setting.
Timing's very the timing's going to be very important here as well.
Right, the duration of those shots.
Duration of those shots, overall cadence as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in terms of previs, I'm trying to think of what I could do on my end to send you.
Now you said that you some of the links that I had seen that Basil forwarded me were something that you had done. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Probably was that an early animation showing an attack with the soldiers fighting a monster.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anything like that would be perfectly sufficient for previous purposes, so that we actually discuss the best approach towards any of these aspects, right?
Okay, I could probably put this. I'm not going to go into all the elaborate modeling to create something as visually stunning as this picture, but
not at all. Not at all. That's not. Okay. That would not be
right.
I mean, Rob, how long is this?
Really practical. Let me. I don't know if you've seen Basil. Did you forward Rob some links or examples of breakdowns that I had probably posted on Vimeo? Or
I shared the breakdown of the military.
What I'll do is let me send a link, and I'll do it directly here in the chat for a video that I did that maybe was part of what you have seen, but you probably have seen excerpts of the completed piece that I did not too long ago. But the link that I'm just sharing is for a breakdown where you can see a split screen in 4 quadrants, where the top left quadrant shows you the previs that I did when I was planning for each of these shots that are fairly heavy VFX loaded shots of that piece. So that should give you a pretty good sense of the simplicity of means, 3D wise or effects suggested, yet paying close attention to setting, to camera movement, to actor positions, so that I can think through what is the most efficient, practical, cheap, and quick way of doing the most with effects.
Sure. I have a Poser, and I'm pretty proficient in Poser, so I should be able to, and I've got a pretty extensive library.
Special, as far as I'm concerned, in order to make a really effective previs.
Sure.
Because it's not a matter of the textures or actual dynamics, but camera framing, camera movement, and blocking of characters and action are the key things that would then give us a much more solid ground to start calculating and thinking of what's the best way to approach any of these.
Sure. Basil, you were asking me how long the teaser, it's under 5 minutes. So we're probably talking somewhere between 3 and 5 minutes.
But these scenes themselves, I mean, are you just concentrating on doing the effects part of the scene, and then just stitching them together, or are you blowing out the storyline a little bit for each one?
Well, obviously, when we go into production, I'm going to want to shoot the whole thing.
Right.
For the trailer, what I need to do, I really just need to sit down and I've started working on it. I haven't finished it. I need to finalize the trailer, and then we would know exactly how much of the scene we would need to shoot, because there's going to be, the trailer itself is only going to be about 2.5 minutes or so. So, and there's going to be a lot more going on in that trailer than just that shot.
Right. I'm assuming you're going to want to showcase many of the effects during the trailer.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So I guess for all intents and purposes, are the effects that you've outlined, they're headed for the trailer. They're going to be seen in the trailer.
Initially, yes.
They are. Okay.
Yeah. But so, like if you may recall at the South by Southwest, my question was, I haven't been able to finalize a budget for the first 4 episodes because I have no idea how much the visual effects are going to cost me. So, I kind of need to do 2 things. I need to figure out the trailer, And that's kind of short term. And then longer term, maybe based on the work that we do on the trailer, is say, okay, you know, what's it going to cost and what's it going to take to really flesh these out for the actual episodes, so that I can put together a budget for the episodes.
Right.
So my 2 cents right away would be that if I were you, I would previs the trailer. I would make a trailer out of the previs.
Yeah.
Because then you and us or any other production people and crew you're going to assemble along the way for the different aspects of it, you're going to have something that is explicitly tangible and concrete as far as making sure that everybody's on the same page.
Yeah.
People who think about the practical shot and you know, setting, location scouting, any of this, costumes, lighting, any of that, and the people on more on our side, which are concerned with the post or the full CG, right? If you have a previs, again, what did you say, poser?
Yeah.
Perfectly fine, perfectly sufficient to do a full previs of the trailer. That would start us off with something that would let us ask or suggest, both really, to ask questions and suggest solutions as we get in the much more specific dialogue on per shot and per aspect basis. And then you end up arriving at much truer estimation of cost and time and effort, because we are very much on the same page of what you see is what we see. It's not what you have in your head is potentially different in our head, and that may lead to confusion or misunderstanding of what would be the best way to approach it.
Yeah, for sure. You know, my problem at this point, it's been almost 10 years I've been working on this. I mean, this is a huge project. 72 episodes outlined. I've been a one-man show. So it kind of gets overwhelming. So,
well, you have to start with less than 75 episodes.
Well, yeah, I'm working on the 4 right now, just trying to get that going. But still, I mean, it's gonna be quite a bit of work. So it's gonna take some time.
Well, so, I'm thinking literally just about the trailer.
That's what I'm talking about too.
Right.
I mean, even doing the previs for it, it's gonna take quite a bit of time. But
what is your estimation? How many shots and what amount of time are you just?
Well, I haven't finalized the script yet. So until I do that, I can't give you a shot list. You know, I mean, I know conceptually in my head what I want, but I've got to write it and draw it all out still. Well, I guess maybe, you know, at this stage in the game, my question is this level of visual effects something that you guys are comfortable with doing? You know, photorealistic.
A lot of what I wrote, what I read through your shot descriptions, sounds like it, and some amount of it was very questionable to me in terms of, well, first of all, how many people, specialists of this or that area, are we able to put together in order for certain, you know, effects to manifest in a one of, you know, any of the shots. And the other thing was to basically get a good sense of what is your timeline estimate, you know, scope. When do you want certain stages of the development to be met? Because that balancing act between budget, manpower, and timeline are the 3 things that we have to negotiate one way or another, right? And making some important mistake in any of the 3 aspects is potentially going to, you know, break down the process and not allow you to meet deadlines or meet them on time or meet them on budget. That's why I want to make sure that we are on the same page and clearly understand that the importance of the previs is crucial, because on that pre-production stage or foundation, we can only make accurate estimations and then take proper steps towards achieving intermediary, goals and then meeting deadlines. Mm-hmm. That's where I'm coming from. Just because I know how monumental of a time and resources can be thrown into VFX. And one of the worst things that happens is to start recognizing that you need to change course or change directions midway on effect shots or larger sequences like that.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. This one here is probably the easiest one. The other ones are a lot more complicated, and they will be pretty critical to the trailer. Like this encounter with the giant, and I don't know how much you guys looked into any of this stuff, but if you just Google the giant of Kandahar, apparently it's a true story.
Yeah, no, I did a bunch of research on that. I mean, that's going to take quite a bit of character design and development as well.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah. This particular artist did a pretty good job of depicting the scene. Mm-hmm. But the way this particular scene plays out is each of these soldiers have helmet cams, and later their point of view becomes critical because it's observed later in other monitors. So you have the director's camera, if you will, mm-hmm. and you have the helmet cams of these guys, POVs, mm-hmm. in a very hectic fight scene with this 12-foot giant.
Well, in a way, that actually can, even though it sounds initially as if it would throw an additional complexity layer to it or technical challenge to it, it actually could play out to your and our favor in terms of how much we can get away in a more hectic, lower res supposed or record assembly collage of the event.
Sure. I see it also becoming a lot of the burden can really fall on the editor as well.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, the cutaway shots, the amount of time that the audience will really have to investigate is scrutinized is going to be
very short.
Very short. Yeah.
And again, it goes back to the precision of that pre-production and
right. The tempo plays a lot here. Tempo in this particular case is really going to be a factor.
Yeah, and this case is actually very similar to the later encounter with Azazel, which you guys saw. That was the previs that I did, the encounter with Azazel in the cave.
Mm-hmm.
There's not really any decent pictures that they came up with. But the previs that I did pretty much tells that.
Did you guys lose connection, or was it just me?
I think it was just you.
No.
Okay, I got an error for a couple seconds.
So I mean, in terms of the way it's shot, both of those encounters will go pretty close to the same way.
Okay.
Except the creature is a lot more elaborate, obviously, that we're dealing with Azazel. This is a picture that I did.
Okay.
But I've built this model already. You get whatever software you guys are using, because I did it in Poser. You could probably just take the model. It may need some retexturing and reboning, but whatever software you guys are using to make it move.
Okay. Well, let's see what do you think, in your estimation, is going to take timeline-wise to get some of that previs?
Man, it's going to be a ways out, because right now I'm spending most of my day signing, stamping, and mailing these books that people are buying like crazy. So as soon as my time kind of frees up in that regard, and I'm going to be dedicating a lot more of my time to finalizing the trailer. So I've got to just finish writing the trailer so I know exactly what's going to be depicted. And then after I know that, then that would be the time for me to start doing previs.
Okay.
So we're still a ways out. We're still, months out at this point, because I'm going to be heading out to California probably the end of this month for about a week, just be networking with producers and people out there that I've had contacts with. Because I'm, like I said, I've been a one-man show, and I'm only at this point ready to start building the team, all the credits we see at the end of the episode,
Right.
like I need all those guys, So, I got to start finding all these people.
But that detailed conversation, which the previs will accommodate, is part of how you know what exact team do you need and who would be involved for what amount of work and what amount of time. And hence, that would calculate budget and all that.
Yeah, I'm almost thinking, I might need to just find a guy that can do previs and
very well could be the case.
Sit with him. He might be my first priority.
Do it and spend a little time. I think that would be very, very well worth it.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, that might be my first objective is to find that guy that can do the real low res, and I could just sit here and talk him through, if I could sit with the guy or even do Google Hangouts with him or whatever, because I know when I'm writing the script, I know the shots in my head. I don't know that I'll be directing it. Probably not, but I know what I want. So
that's exactly what I mean.
Yeah, we need
to be visualized in a very blocked out, very crude way, but well paced and well framed.
Yeah,
those are the key issues of that the previs needs to convey, because then we talk details.
Right. All right. Well, that's my homework assignment then.
Yeah.
It doesn't sound like
I mean, this, Rob, really, we're looking for something that speaks to pacing and really just camera angles and like what you see in the frame and how and what the camera if it moves, how it's going to move.
Right.
And I think once you have that, that's going to answer a lot of questions for yourself. It might seem like a lot of work right now.
You're going to end up re-editing probably your initial idea of the trailer and the composition of some of these shots, because you're going to find out that with certain camera dolly and certain duration of a shot, you then need to follow with something specific rather than something which maybe initially the script suggested, right?
Yeah. Okay.
And I would be open to showing iterations just so that you're not going for perfection, because really it's not about that. It's just about getting a sense and then honing it down. So, I don't know, man. I'm open to reviewing anything you have to show. So
absolutely, and I'd say the link that I shared with you. Look at that previs that I did for that piece. Half the detail in this would be perfectly sufficient. I kind of decided to take my time with the previs on that one, just because I wanted to kind of think through some new techniques I wanted to test in post. But in your case, you don't need even that level of detail there, or texturing, or any,
Yeah, I mean, you guys are basically just looking for 3D stick figures moving around, with the right pacing and framing. Right.
Yeah.
Right. I got you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah. I mean, if you have the ability to, tell that story, to portray that story through 3D camera angles, I mean, it's that much more accurate a depiction that we'll be getting. So yeah, that's totally appreciated. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've done it before. I mean, this hard part, man. I'm kind of a jack of all trades, master of none.
Right.
I can do almost anything. It's time. Time is my biggest problem.
This will be the investment of time in this will have will give you
good dividends.
Yeah, it'll give you good dividends.
It'll pay off.
Yeah. This will be worth. This is a necessary component.
Yeah, it's like George Lucas cutting the World War II footage together to show people what he wants for the Death Star fight sequence. You know?
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. So let's stay. I've been taking notes the entire time. I'll recap it and send a recap in the morning, and then let's tentatively set some checkpoints. You know what you need to think about is your timeline, so that you know when you say it out loud and when you give it a timeline, it gets done better. You know what I'm saying? So let's just like stay conscious of that and set a timeline and verbalize it, and I'll do a follow up tomorrow.
Okay. Yeah, and this is all this is recorded, but it's a private Google Hangout, so I can share the link with you guys if you guys want to look at it anytime and save you time of writing.
Okay.
But whatever.
All right,
guys. Well, I appreciate your time. Thank you, and I've got some homework to do, and I'll get back to you.
Sounds good.
All right.
Thanks for the time.
All right. Thanks, guys. All right.
Bye.